The Colt Single Action Army, also known as the Single Action Army, SAA, Model P, Peacemaker, M1873, and Colt .45 is a single-action revolver with a revolving cylinder holding 6 metallic cartridges. It was designed for the U.S. government service revolver trials of 1872 by Colt's Patent Firearms Manufacturing Company, today's Colt's Manufacturing Company, and was adopted as the standard military service revolver until 1892. The Colt SAA has been offered in over 30 different calibers and various barrel lengths. Its overall appearance has remained consistent since 1873. Colt has cancelled its production twice, but brought it back due to popular demand. The revolver was popular with ranchers, lawmen, and outlaws alike, but as of the early 21st century, models are mostly bought by collectors and reenactors. Its design has influenced the production of numerous other models from other companies. The Colt SAA Peacemaker revolver is a famous piece of Americana. The original length of the barrel, issued to the U.S. Cavalry, was 7.5 inches, with an overall length of 13 inches. Bound by the roll-in-white patent, and not wanting to pay a royalty fee to Smith & Wesson, Colt could not begin development of bore-through revolver cylinders for metallic cartridge use, until April 4, 1869. For the design, Colt turned to two of its best engineers, William Mason and Charles Brinkerhoff Richards, who had developed a number of revolvers and black powder conversions for the company. Their effort was designed for the United States government service revolver trials of 1872 by Colt's Patent Firearms Manufacturing Company and adopted as the standard military service revolver. Production began in 1873 with the Single Action Army Model 1873, also referred to as the New Model Army Metallic Cartridge Revolving Pistol. The very first production Single Action Army, serial number 1, thought lost for many years after its production, was found in a barn in Nashua, New Hampshire in the early 1900s. This gun was chambered in .45 Colt, a centerfire design containing charges of up to 40 grains of fine-grained black powder and a 255-grain blunt round-nosed bullet. Relative to period cartridges and most later handgun rounds, it was quite powerful in its full loading. The Colt Single Action Army revolver, along with the 1870 and 1875 Smith & Wesson Model 3 Schofield revolver, replaced the Colt 1860 Army percussion revolver. The Colt quickly gained favor over the S&W and remained the primary U.S. military sidearm until 1892, when it was replaced by the .38 long Colt caliber Colt Model 1892, a double-action revolver with swing-out cylinder. By the end of 1874, serial number 16,000 was reached. 12,500 Colt Single Action Army revolvers chambered for the .45 Colt cartridge had entered service, and the remaining revolvers were sold in the civilian market. In 1896, at serial number 164,100, a spring-loaded base pin latch replaced the cylinder pin retaining screw, and by 1900, at serial number 192,000, the Colt Single Action was certified for use with smokeless powder. In 1920, larger, highly visible sights replaced the original thin blade and notch. The revolvers remained essentially unchanged from that point until cessation of manufacture at the beginning of World War II. At the beginning of World War II, Colt ceased production of the Single Action Army revolver to devote more time to filling orders for the war. When the war ended, no plans were made to revive the Single Action Army revolver as the design was seen as obsolete. However, the advent of television and Western-themed movies created customer demand for the revolver, so Colt resumed manufacture in 1956 with the second-generation line of Single Action Army revolvers. These second-generation Colt Single Action Army revolvers were produced from 1956 to 1974. Due to the popularity of the television show, The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, Colt introduced the aforementioned Buntline Special as a second-generation offering from 1957 to 1974. From 1961 to 1975, Colt offered an adjustable sight model known as the New Frontier, capitalizing on President John F. Kennedy's campaign slogan. Colt manufactured 4,200 of these revolvers, including 70 built on the Buntline frame. The third generation began in 1976, characterized by a change in barrel thread pitch and a solid cylinder bushing replacing the removable/replaceable part from the first and second generations. This series ran until 1982 as a limited issue product. In 1994, production of the SAA resumed with the increase in popularity of cowboy action shooting matches. These models are known either as late third generation or sometimes fourth generation. They have the original style removable/replaceable cylinder bushing. Colt currently offers the single-action Army in one of two finishes, either an all-nickel, or blued with color case-hardened frame, in the traditional 3-barrel lengths, 4 3/4 inches, 5.5 inches and 7.5 inches, and 8 chamberings, .32 to 20, .38 to 40, .44 to 40, 38 special, .357 Magnum, .44 special, .45 Colt, or .45 ACP, a total of 42 variations. Colt manufactured third-generation buntlines and new frontiers through the Colt Custom Shop, as well as many engraved pistols. In 2010, Colt released a revival of the Frontier 6-shooter with a nickel finish. The power, accuracy and handling qualities of the single-action Army or SAA made it a popular sidearm from its inception, well into the 20th century. The association with the history of the American West remains to the present century, and these revolvers remain popular with shooters and collectors. George S. Patton, who began his career in the horse cavalry, carried a custom-made SAA with ivory grips engraved with his initials and an eagle, which became his trademark. He used it during the Mexican punitive expedition of 1916 to kill 2 of Pancho Villa's lieutenants, and carried it until his death in 1945 shortly after the end of World War II. In the early and mid-20th century, original peacemakers lacking historical provenance and not in pristine condition were not particularly valuable. They served as raw material for early enthusiasts such as Elmer Keith, Harold Croft and R. F. Sedgley, who modified the revolvers to enhance performance and experimented with more effective ammunition. At the beginning of the 21st century, first and second generation SAAs are highly regarded as collector's items and often considered too valuable to shoot. After World War II, new interest in the SAA started and firearms enthusiast William R. Wilson recognized the need and the opportunity. In 1953 Wilson founded the Great Western Arms Company to produce an almost exact clone of the old Colt SAA for television and movie westerns. The Great Western revolvers were manufactured in Los Angeles. Later Colt editions are more common, and various copies and near copies of the revolver are made by Uberti of Italy. The single-action Army is the precursor and inspiration for modern sporting revolvers from John Linebaugh, Freedom Arms, Ruger, Cimarron, and others. In 2010, Arizona State Rifle and Pistol Association President Noble C. Hathaway and Cast Bullet Director Dan Walliser surveyed state residents to determine what Old West firearm should be named the official state firearm. The Colt patent firearm single-action Army won by a 38% margin. Soon afterward, Hathaway submitted a bill to the Arizona legislature, and on the last day of the 2010 to 2011 regular legislative session, Arizona Senate Bill 1610 was passed. Within days, Governor Jan Brewer signed the bill into law. Arizona is the second state to have an official firearm, following Utah's adoption of the Colt M1911 pistol.